Hey everyone, I'm Anya Esma, and today I want to speak to you about the definition or my feelings about some of the words that are used with relation to witches. I got tagged by Jasmyne Ambrosia for this particular topic. I will leave her channel and her video on this topic down below. And just start rambling. This is going to be mostly a video where I talk about how I relate to these words, not really being like, this is what they mean, this is what they have to mean to everyone. It's more my relation to it. So the four words that I want to speak about are witch, priestess, prophetess, and sorceress. Now the last one I added myself, Jasmyne Ambrosia, just did a video about the first three words and how she relates to those, and what different roles essentially you play in your life as a witch. So I will speak about two words of these four that I do not relate to: witch, priestess, prophetess, sorceress, and two of these words that I very strongly relate to and that I use for myself as well. So stay till the end to hear which ones I don't relate to and which ones I do very much relate to. I'm going to sum up her video real quick. Do go watch it if you want the full idea, but I just want to give her take on it really quickly so that you know sort of where I'm coming from and what the context is to my own thoughts. So her opinion was that a witch, the word witch, relates to what she is, pertaining to her private practice, which means using arcane magic to manifest things in the physical realm, just using magic in that private sense, so to speak. Whereas priestess is more her devotional role within her coven, because she is in a coven. And that entails the role of working with spirits, with gods, with the dead. And then lastly, prophetess is connected to her role as more of a medium, or like mediumship in general. It's related to fate. Now, as I've explained this, I do want to make it clear, possibly she has changed her mind about these things. I think she made the video like 3 or 4 months ago, and I have not filmed videos since. So my video response is like super late. Sorry for that. But yes, at the end of the day, I know from myself that if I watch videos that I made like 1 year ago, 2 years ago, I would be like, damn, I don't really agree with what I said there, because it's always evolving. It's always changing how you see your own practice and how you practice as such, like what you even do and how you see yourself. So do keep that in mind, both for my video as well as my explanation of Jasmyne's video. So I'm just going to ramble on a little bit. I'm not going to go through the words chronologically or something. I just have a lot of thoughts on my own practice and how I see myself. So the whole priestess aspect, I feel, is very related to having a community. And I personally do not feel or see myself as really stepping up to take a role in the community, both offline and online, because I'm just not committed enough to it. I'm not super active. I do not make a lot of video responses. I do not interact a lot on Instagram. I rarely post there. I just sort of make videos when I feel like it and when it feels like the right time. So I'm not like a superstar content creator who has videos about everything, where I do everything perfectly. It's just a hobby. It is a witchy hobby, obviously, but I do not feel like it qualifies me, so to speak, to say that I play a huge role in the community. Sure, I'm part of it, but I'm not like a leader as much as I see some other YouTubers being leaders in a way, even though that's a whole other concept. I don't really think there's a lot of leaders in the witchcraft community. Let's not get into that. The point is, I don't really identify with the priestess word because I'm not in a coven and I do not have a leading role in my local community, which is no role at all because I don't have a local community that I really tangle with. And online as well, I don't really have a leading role that I would call a priestess role. Also, for the word prophetess, sometimes I see that as relative to the word psychic, and I've never really seen myself as a psychic. I think I'm not necessarily saying that it's not something I couldn't identify with. I just don't. It has no meaning for me. I would not call myself a psychic. I would not necessarily call myself a medium either. It's just not terminology that I feel expresses what I do. But I do understand that some people use these words for themselves. Why not? I think by the definition, I could fit into those words possibly, but I just don't jive with them. Because I think as far as what other people have told me, I do have a way of seeing through people, saying the right thing at the right moment, which some would which some would define possibly as channeling or as the divine working through me or whatever concept you have in your mind. But that belief system doesn't really resonate with me. So that's why I don't use these words like channeling, being a psychic, the divine working through me. These things, maybe I would think like that in my own time, but not publicly being like I'm a psychic or I'm channeling, even if it is by definition possibly what I'm doing. Maybe I also have some resistance to these words because they get abused so much, obviously, and then you have to break down all the prejudices that people have against these words. Even with the word witch or the word tarot reader, I already have a lot of unconditioning to do for people and a lot of explaining to do. And if you add something like psychic at the end, then it's just all over the place. So I think if you adopt labels like that, if they have power for you personally, great. But if you don't really resonate with them, don't feel forced to have to do it, you know? Even if it describes your practice, even if some people would probably say I am psychic, it's just not something I really want to use. And I know psychic wasn't even a word, but I feel like prophetess sort of relates to psychic, you know? So prophetess for me is a very pompous word, it's a word focused on mediumship and on being psychic and possibly foretelling the future or foretelling fate. And I don't associate with that so much as well. Mostly tarot is a tool for me to communicate with the subconscious and helping other people also get insight and agency on their situation, look at their options. That's how I use tarot. So prophetess, I feel, would be a little bit of a too pompous word for that. Which is not to say it's not true, possibly, because there can be immense power in self-aggrandizement and in using pompous words like that to describe your practice. Because it's also a matter of, you know, I've thought to myself as well, am I afraid to step up into this role and call myself any of these words? I do call myself a witch, obviously. I do not call myself a priestess or a prophetess. And I do not often call myself a sorceress publicly, sometimes. But then I think to myself, am I just afraid to like use them because of society's expectations and so on? And for me, the not totally final conclusion that I've come to is that it's just a matter of branding and a matter of wording. Because sometimes I think it can quickly go into being sort of presumptuous and being full of yourself, which I think in the spiritual community is a huge issue, feeling like superior to others. And I really don't like that rhetoric. And I think it sort of slips into that. And thinking that you know what is best for people and that you just tell them and all they have to do is listen, and rather than you truly listening to them, they have to listen to you because you are psychic, you're a medium, you know. I don't like that logic and that approach, and that's just not how I work with friends, people, clients, if I do tarot readings. So that's why sometimes these words are a little bit too pompous for me, because it's not that I'm afraid to step up to that role, it's more that I'm saying, okay, in my practice, it just doesn't fit that I'm the prophet and they listen. You know what I mean? So that's how I relate to it. And to be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how I work with people. I've offered readings in the past. I will probably start doing it again, but that's all like in the future. So who knows what will happen. Now let's talk about the two words that I do relate very strongly to. Now, the word witch, I definitely relate to. I've also had an on-off relationship with it and been like, does that word fit me? Does it fit my practice? Or am I just spiritual? Am I just a mystic? Or am I really witch? For me, the word witch is very tied to the idea of healing and of self-reflection, healing myself through divination, healing myself through magic as well. Whereas the word sorceress, which I also like to use, to me relates more to things like controlling how I appear to the outside. Something like glamour magic, I feel falls more into the sorceress category for me, because sorcery for me is about sometimes illusions and also control in the sense of using magic in order to change your reality. And for the witch word, for me personally, it's more of a personal thing, and the sorceress thing is more of an outward thing, if that makes sense. So if I use magic on myself, it feels more witchy, and if I use magic on the outside world, it's more sorceressy. I know that there is no clear definition of what a sorcerer or a sorceress versus a magician is. It just doesn't exist, because these words are, I don't know, they change the definitions throughout the ages, throughout what people believe magic is, and you just cannot say with certainty, this is the definition of a witch, this is the definition of a mage, and this is the definition of a sorcerer, you know? It just doesn't work that way, and I'm totally fine with that, which is why I've chosen to adopt those two words mostly in my own practice. And that's how I think of myself. A witch, a sorceress, these words, they work for me. The rest, I don't know. So that's how I feel about it. Thank you so much for watching these ramblings. Let me know in the comments which words you relate to. Witch, priestess, prophetess, sorceress. What's your relationship to all of these words? Is there one that you maybe have never even thought about? Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon.